Good morning, it's Barbara. I'm back. And it's gorgeous outside and I'm going out. Good morning, it's Barbara. Thank you for joining me for coffee. I had a lot of trouble getting my phone going on up here and anyway. It's been a couple days. I took 2 days off of vlogging because I went away for my one event at my high school reunion and was away overnight and spent a few minutes with my dad on Father's Day. And so Father's Day was Juneteenth. Happy Juneteenth. Happy Freedom Day. I saw a sign calling it Freedom Day. Johnny Bowe did a series of interesting Instagram posts on Juneteenth. I suggest that you find them and read them. Meanwhile, it is a stunningly beautiful day, and I feel like I have a lot of things to talk about, so I think I'll spread them over a few days because, you know, this is a vlog, not a podcast. It will be a podcast one of these days because I actually started knitting again. I did not, it won't shock you to hear, I did not sew my little seam on my along the edge cowl. But I did cast on the elm leaf shawlette and got some distance. I mean, I showed it to Dennis. He says it looks like a thong. So that's how far I got. I got into the thong stage. But I haven't knit on it in the last couple days because I didn't do any crafting except last night. I had my crafting with Christy night. And she has a podcast, the Floss Tube out, I have to listen to. And this is where I am. So I have drinks in all the May glasses and in some of the June glasses, so I'm not feeling very behind. And by the time next Sunday comes, I will be caught up because the drinks don't take the actual drinks. But look how yellow. And it's going to be a lot more yellow. That yellow, that bright yellow is 77. I had 2 sets of 77 practically in a row. Anyway, so that was fun. I stitched with Christy and talked to her. I hadn't talked to her really in quite a while. So, and it was Father's Day, so we said, Jason and the girls wished, and Allison wished Dappy a happy Father's Day, and we wished Jason a happy Father's Day. So that was fun last night. So I got home in the middle of the afternoon. My reunion picnic was really, really lovely. And it was felt very different than the other, I just realized I don't have my glasses, than the other reunion events that I had attended. Now, I've only been to 2 previous reunions. Dennis and I both went to my 20th reunion because it took place like 2 days after we got married in State College. So we were there anyway, and Dennis went with me. He would never do that again. It's not his thing, and you know, but we were just married and he went with me. And at that time, at 20 years, you know, people were still kind of living their sort of groups and cliques and things from high school. And I mean, it was nice and, you know, it was great. But the only people who come are people who feel successful enough to say, this is what I'm doing. You know, I have this theory on reunions. You know, if you're not, typically successful, you may not come. If you don't have a big group of people you want to see, you may not come. Now, I never was much of a joiner, so I wasn't in the band or drama club or any of those things. And I went out for track one year, but I never made the team, and it was never like a thing. But, you know, people who were in clubs and organizations and, you know, cheerleaders and band and, you know, all kinds of stuff, had a big connection with a bunch of people, and those connections held through the 20 years. So here's the lawnmower. I'm wearing my weed whacking clothes. Yeah, Dennis is going to be mowing the backyard, and I'm going to be doing some whacking, so I'm wearing my whacking clothes. So that was the 20th, and Dennis went with me. Now, then, 10 years ago, I went to the 40th, and the 40th was a little bit different. People had changed a lot more, you know, in 40 years. And, you know, it was still a little bit the same, but it was interesting. It was interesting to see people. I enjoyed myself. You know, I was very happy to do that. And it helped me reconnect with some of the people I was close to in high school, reconnect in that, you know, we became Facebook friends, and I kind of kept up with what they were doing and that kind of thing. So, do I need to go in the house? Okay. So that was fun. So I've been, you know, but I'm not on Facebook very much, and I talk about Facebook in a minute. So anyway, I enjoyed my 40th, and it was great to get back together with my friends that you know, the small group of friends that I had been very close with in high school, and that was great. This time, it felt very different. It felt like everybody, you know, most people were retired or semi-retired, and it just felt different. Well, plus, I went to the picnic. I did not go to the dinner. Friday night had a dinner. It was an indoor dinner, and, you know, my COVID protocols do not cover going to a big dinner with 150 people, all, you know, trying to talk and whatever. So I went to the picnic, which worked out great because it was a beautiful day and it was very, very breezy. So I was able to talk with people and not feel like I needed to wear a mask, which is good because they're not going to hardly recognize me anyway. So, of course, we all wore name tags because otherwise, forget it. You look familiar, you know. So it was very nice. We had a memorial service. One of our classmates is a preacher, and we had a little memorial service for the 50-some people who have died in our class already, and that was really sad. One of my early boyfriends is dead, Mark Orlando. I was sad. That made me sad to see that. And yeah, it was really nice. And it was really nice to have some conversations with people who I didn't really know well, but I knew, you know, and got to know a little bit, and people sent regards to my parents, of course. And that kind of thing. It was just really, really lovely. And it was really nice, and, you know, whatever. I had a great time. I was really glad that I went. My friend Kim Anderson, and she said, "Oh, let me get a picture." Otherwise, I wouldn't even have a picture of her. Here we are. As we were getting ready to leave the hotel room, she had gotten a room and had called me and said, "Are you coming? Because I'm going to have a room." And so I stayed overnight with her on Saturday night. I walked into that hotel with one of the big Corsi Rosenthal boxes, you know, filter fans. You know, I blame Dennis for all that COVID stuff. I made him sound like a nut, but, you know, I buy into it all. So, it, you know, it was just deflecting, so I didn't have to, you know. I didn't have to talk about it. All I said is, Dennis is making me do this, so I'm doing it. Anyway, so we had the fan on in the room and filtered the air in the room, and everywhere else that I was inside, I had a mask on. So I worked really hard to not get COVID. In fact, I had originally, when I talked to my dad, said I was coming and I would have lunch with them at their place. And when I hung up the phone, Dennis gave me such a look. He was like stricken that I did not stay for lunch, because I would have had to take my mask off in this, you know, in this personal care facility full of, you know, they say that there's no COVID in, you know, I don't even know if they can say that there's COVID or not. I guess they could if they don't say who has it. I don't know. Well, the a big facility, big complex that has every level of care in town, called Foxdale. Daddy says there are at least 15 people with COVID in there. So anyway, so I didn't stay for lunch, which was fine because I don't usually eat lunch and the food's not that good. And they're used to me not eating, so that was fine. But I was there for a couple of hours and had a very nice visit for Father's Day. And the weather was stunningly beautiful. on Saturday and yesterday, the drive home, it's beautiful like it is today here. And in fact, it was chilly. I wore one of my summer sweaters. I wore my summer dreams to show off my summer dreams, and then I had to put my other sweater on, which I was showing off too, because it was my Monte Rosa. But I didn't notice anybody's clothes. Nobody noticed mine, so that was okay. But it was a really lovely weekend. Kim and I went out to dinner with our friend Bonnie. Bonnie was in the class before us, and she still lives in State College most of the time. And we were able to eat outside, and we had a really lovely time. She's recently widowed, and I hadn't seen her since then, and so it was good to hug her and talk to her about how she's doing. And another friend, Joyce, who did not come to the picnic, but she stopped by the hotel before she went out of town, so we got a chance to hang out. And she and I only live about 40 minutes apart. So it's crazy that we haven't gotten together, and it's possible we might actually do that. We'll see. I hope so. But of course, I didn't get pictures of them because I'm the world's worst blogger, podcaster. As you well know. So anyway, that's the quick thumbnail of my weekend, but it was really, really nice. But I was glad to get home. I felt like I worked really hard trying not to get COVID. I was telling people, you know, if I get COVID, they don't have to worry about an ICU room because Dennis will kill me. That'll be that. And I wore the highest quality mask, and anyway, I did what I could. And I had a great time. And there were a couple of people who, when I said I really couldn't go to the dinner with everybody in that indoor space, they kind of winced and said, yeah, it was kind of close, and I don't know that it was a good idea. So I wasn't the only one feeling that way. But there were only 2 of us, I think, who were at the picnic who hadn't been there the night before. But only a third of the people from the night before came, so there were plenty of people that I didn't get to see. But it's okay. There were people there whose names I didn't recognize at all. When, you know, because we had name tags with our high school graduation pictures on it, you know, so this is what we used to look like. This is what we look like now. Anyway, it was very nice. I'll stop talking about it because it's kind of boring to hear other people's whatever. So I showed you my, the girls are very excited because Dennis is like walking around in the grass. Showed you my stitching. I will show you my knitting tomorrow. Today the plan is I'm going to be weed whacking. I'm wearing my weed whacking shirt. Dennis mows after I get done out here. We have a sinkhole in our yard, and he can't mow that because it's got steep sides and because it's got a big giant hole. Now, you may have wondered why when you sometimes see views of my yard, we have green plastic chairs like upside down in various places on the yard. Those are all obstacle places. So 2 of them are stumps so the chair is over them so Dennis doesn't mow over them and wreck the mower. And then the one it's a big hole in the ground. So we do need to get somebody in here to deal with our sinkhole. Maybe I should put that on my list. I actually did something that was on my list the other day, and I can cross it off. So I need a new list, start a new list, and call about the sinkhole is definitely on my list. Oh, he's got a wrench. That means he's getting organized. He's getting a hose organized. So because our garden is going to be needing to be watered pretty regularly. And so we're getting the hose organized for that. He's getting the hose organized for that. And he did not plant his cucumbers. I will show you those tomorrow because I suspect we will plant them today at some point. And yeah, and then I'll give you the garden update and show you my knitting tomorrow. Anyway, so I'm back, and it was a very nice weekend, and I'm feeling perky. Oh, I slept pretty good last night, and I slept pretty good in the hotel, which was a surprise. But I hadn't slept well the night before, so that was good. So I'm feeling good. It was a good weekend, and it felt weird not to talk to you guys, though, I will admit. It did feel very strange. Meanwhile, Please, please take good care of yourselves. I'll talk to you tomorrow. Stay safe and stay safe.